Hey guys, it's Dave, and I'm actually not going to do an exercise for this video, but I wanted to talk about the growth mindset, which is kind of an educational psychology term, and it's basically the idea that our intelligence, our abilities, even our personality characteristics are always changing. And when we believe that, we believe it sometimes, and sometimes we don't believe it. When we believe it, we can do much more with our time. We spend our energy in much more efficient, much more growthful ways. Partly why it's called the growth mindset. And I want to just talk about the opposite of the growth mindset, which is called the fixed mindset, which is the belief, conscious or unconscious, that our abilities and our intelligence and our personalities are fixed. They stay the same. We were born with a certain amount of talent, and that's how well we will do. Right? When we come from a place like that, it's very hard to build things. It's very hard to grow because the mechanism behind these two different mindsets, these beliefs, is really self-fulfilling prophecies. So what do I mean by that? Well, when you believe that you can grow and that everything you do will help you grow, you do more things. You practice more. When you believe that you're fixed and you can't get that much better, well, then you stop practicing and you don't get much better. So this is great. Knowing the distinction, just knowing the distinction between the two and being able to see it in yourself is a huge step forward. When you can identify those moments where you feel like, oh, I'm never going to get better at this. That's a fixed mindset. That's a belief. And you can get better. So the truth, the more realistic one, is the growth mindset. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of research into neuroplasticity, which has shown us that even elderly people, 70s, 80s years old, their brains can still grow. They can still form new connections. They can still learn new skills and get better at things. So that's more realistic in terms of our brain functioning. Another thing is that I'm going to think about how we get better at anything. What happens is let's say this is our actual level of skill, whatever that means. This line that's the side of my hand, right? Whenever I perform the thing, whatever this skill is, whenever I perform it, sometimes I'm going to do better than my actual level because I get a little lucky, right? Or luck meaning there's things that you can't predict about the world. And anytime you do something, those are in play. So you can't predict. Sometimes you're going to get lucky. You're going to do better than your actual skill level. Sometimes you're going to do worse. And if you do it many times, you're going to probably get a pattern like this. You're going to do better, worse, better, worse. Not in that order necessarily, but you're going to have a scattering of better and a scattering of worse. And if you do it many times, your actual skill level, your average, will rise. But you have to do it many times in order to make that level rise. So, when we fail at something, when we're in that moment of, oh, I know, I could have done better than this, or maybe we think I couldn't have done better than this, whatever. But the point is, when we feel like a failure, when we feel like we've failed, it's really important what we do with that. If we feel like this failure predicts my future, this means that I'm not going to be good in the future, I'm not going to do well next time, what's that going to do? That's going to lead us to give up, right? If we fail and we keep in mind that even though I failed, this is just a dot. This is a dot in this whole thing. And next time, I might do the best I've ever done, because you can't predict that kind of thing. We can only predict one thing, which is that if we keep doing it, if we keep practicing, our average, or our average will increase. but that means we have to practice. So that's the one thing we can predict. If I fail today, if I do the worst excuse me, if I do the worst I've ever done today, I might do the better than the best I've ever done tomorrow. Because there's many factors whenever we perform anything. So in this case, I might be talking about juggling. I might be talking about something else, surfing, or designing products of some kind. You might design the worst product you've ever designed, and the next idea you have is the best you've ever had. And the next one after that might be, okay, right? You can't predict it. The only thing we can predict is that we will get better if we do it many times. Okay, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to add there. Okay, so juggling is an ideal activity for practicing the growth mindset. Why? Because we're constantly either catching the ball or dropping it. And what do we do when we drop it? It's something to be mindful of, be aware of. What happens when you drop the ball? Do you feel like, ugh, another one, another drop? Or do you feel like, hey, it's just a dot, you know? I'm doing this many times, I'm going to get better. This drop doesn't mean anything. Sometimes we have this unconsciously. We don't even know we're saying it to ourselves. So anyway, this is a great opportunity to practice the growth mindset. When you drop the ball, think to yourself, I dropped it. What does that mean? That means I'm practicing. So that's great. That means I'm actually practicing. That means I'm going to get better. This drop doesn't predict my future. It just means that I'm practicing. And that predicts my future. Practice predicts the future. And a positive spiral at that. So think about that. I invite you to be mindful of what happens to you in your mind when you drop the ball. And when you catch it, celebrate. You know, it's great that every time you catch the ball, it's great. It feels great. It's success, right? But that doesn't mean that when you drop it, that, you know, it's a dangerous thing to feel. I mean, it's good to feel your successes, but it's dangerous to feel the failures as much as you feel the successes. And that's a whole other thing. That's the negativity bias. I'm going to talk about that in another video. But anyway, think about the growth mindset and tell me what you think. Talk to you next time.